A very good evening and welcome to Eswatini TV's 8 p.m. news broadcast. My name is Nondobego Nzabgelogo. Let's take a look at tonight's headlines. Members of Parliament in the House of Assembly will start holding their sittings virtually. The Prime Minister Ambrose Dlamini says the approach of full community involvement which the country took in the fight against HIV and AIDS should be taken in the fight against COVID-19. The Minister of Health, Lizzie Ngosi, has received equipment worth over 6 million emalangeni. The news. Members of Parliament in the House of Assembly will soon start holding their sittings virtually. This follows that they're being trained on holding meetings virtually using the Zoom application. The training workshop for parliamentarians, which is supported by the UNDP, was officially opened by Prime Minister Ambrose Dlamini.
The COVID-19 pandemic has changed the normal way of doing things, not only in Eswatini but globally. The pandemic saw countries including Eswatini introduce measures such as social distancing to minimize physical contact among people to curb the spread of coronavirus. For institutions like Parliament, the restrictions of gathering of large numbers of people call for the use of technology through innovations such as Zoom meeting to hold their sittings. And it is for that reason that the House of Assembly, through the support of UNDP, is training parliamentarians on how to hold meetings using Zoom.
In the ever-changing environment that we are in, characterized by technological advancement and emergence of disasters like COVID-19, the development and upgrading of skills of parliamentarians and members of staff in utilizing technological meetings platforms such as Zoom has become a vital necessity. The use of such technological innovation will enable Parliament to observe safety measures and reduce the spread of the coronavirus within the august institution, as well as apply social distance by holding sittings virtually.
The Prime Minister thanked UNDP for the continued support to the Parliament of Eswatini. Speaker in the House of Assembly, Petros Mavimbela, says the surge in the number of confirmed COVID-19 cases in the country calls for strict adherence to the COVID-19 regulations, in particular that of social distancing.
We had to adapt to the change and think outside the box. By embracing information technology in order to continue doing business, we had to fully embrace the vision of His Majesty King Eswatini III, who has always urged us as a nation to take the country forward to the first world status.
Delivering her speech through Zoom, UNDP country representative Rose Sebat-Indira said one of the greatest lessons learned globally from the emergence of COVID-19 is that they must adapt their way of working to ensure that institutions can function in any situation, however critical. Hence, the role of the digital platform in the way they work and conduct work, life, business can therefore not be overstated. She congratulated the Parliament of Eswatini for taking decisive steps at the earliest stage to embrace and customize digital platform for the continuation of Parliament business. For Eswatini TV News, I'm Sebosiso Ngubane with Muzi Mkonda, Zulwini.
The Prime Minister, Ambrose Dlamini, says the approach of full community involvement which the country took in the fight against HIV and AIDS should be taken in the fight against COVID-19. The Prime Minister said this when addressing parliamentarians on the key guidelines that the World Health Organization is emphasizing on.
The Prime Minister Ambrose Dlamini says there are key guidelines that the World Health Organization is emphasizing on. The Prime Minister says government will continue to encourage the nation to observe the protocols such as washing of hands and social distancing amongst others. The Prime Minister says, firstly, WHO want the transmission of the virus to be controlled. Hence, it should be appreciated that some of the measures put in place are for that as the country moves to the new normal. Health systems and public health capacities must be sufficient.
The Kingdom of Eswatini has underinvested in the health sector for a long time. When this pandemic came 6-7 months ago, it really found us in a very weak position as a country from a health point of view. And WHO is encouraging all countries to focus on strengthening the health systems and public health capacity to address a number of things so that we can detect very early pandemics. We can also test people. We can also isolate and quarantine.
Thirdly, the Premier says WHO wants to make sure that citizens and countries are not vulnerable, which calls for spending more money in preparing countries, which will minimize vulnerability. The fourth point is to do with business. The workplace must put appropriate measures to make sure that employees are safe, which calls for companies to invest in systems that will ensure workers are fully protected.
HIV and AIDS isasithi indzaba yethu sonke. Sicabanga ukuthi na COVID-19 bekunene indzaba yethu sonke.
The Prime Minister says the approach that the country took in the fight against HIV and AIDS should be taken in the fight against COVID-19, which is full community involvement. Thus, it is important that everyone be involved. He thanked parliamentarians for the work they are doing in their constituencies, and he sympathized with them as they live with the people affected by the COVID-19 pandemic. For Eswatini TV News, I'm Sibusiso Ngubane in Zulwini.
The Minister for Health, Lizi Ngosi, has received equipment worth over 6 million emalangeni, which will be used in the newly established neonatal intensive care unit at the Mbabane Government Hospital. The event was held at the Cooper Center in Mbabane.
The equipment handed over to the Ministry of Health has a total value of over $352,000, and the ministry will ensure that the newly established newborn intensive care unit at Mbabane Government Hospital is provided with the best qualified personnel who will take interest in caring for the newborns. Presenting the equipment to the Minister of Health was UNICEF representative Dr. Alice Akunga, who says that this is a way of supporting the country to reduce the mortality rate of newborn babies in the kingdom.
It's my desire that even during the COVID era, the health workers and in totality all of us as stakeholders, led by the Ministry of Health, we still ensure that the neonates are given due attention and that no one life is lost at birth. Strengthening the healthcare system, therefore, supporting with all the equipment and facilities that are required, and ensuring delivery of quality health services for the newborns can easily turn around the highly mortality rates in the country.
Minister of Health Lizi Ngosi has conveyed her appreciation to UNICEF and the UK aid for ensuring that the welfare of the newborn babies is taken care of in the country.
Receiving this equipment today came at a time when the country is battling COVID-19 pandemic. This is very critical and well appreciated milestone for the country as we strive to reach the 2030 Sustainable Development Goal of 12 per 1,000 of neonatal death and 25 per 1,000 of infant mortality respective rates.
The minister further says she hopes that the equipment will go a long way in the reduction of newborn mortality rate countrywide. UNICEF also donated 5,000 materials to rural health motivators and further supported training of all elite rural health motivators on COVID-19. Reporting, I am Zoto Adlamini with Mbonga Dube in Mbabane.
And now for a statement from the Ministry of Home Affairs. The National Independence holiday falling on Sunday, the 6th of September, has been moved to Monday, the 7th of September 2020. This is in respect of the Public Holiday Act, particularly Section 2, which states that if any such day falls on a Sunday, the following Monday shall be observed as a public holiday. This is contained in a press statement issued by the Communications Officer at the Ministry of Home Affairs, Mlanvo Dlamini. The Minister of Commerce, Mangoba Khumalo, says he believes that the delivery unit is very key in making sure that it becomes an enabler of the implementation of the post-COVID-19 economic recovery plan so that Eswatini can generate income and wealth. The minister was speaking during the inception meeting of the Economic Recovery Delivery Unit.
The post-COVID-19 economic recovery plan is meant to restore the productive economic activities to resuscitate the economy. On Wednesday, the delivery unit gathered for their first meeting to harness the 30 billion investments in the plan to ensure that the recovery plan is successfully implemented. The Minister of Commerce, Mangoba Khumalo, says the delivery unit is very key in making sure that it becomes an enabler of the implementation of the plan so that Eswatini can stop managing its poverty and generate income and wealth.
We need to make people believe that Eswatini is indeed open for business. But it is always interesting when you expect other people to have more passion for something than yourself. The amount of faith, the amount of belief, the amount of conviction that this can be achieved is second to none.
Business Eswatini CEO Nathi Dlamini says the delivery unit consists of experts who are capable of making the plan a success. Therefore, he believes that implementation of these projects will be a success.
I think I feel much more hopeful and emboldened that the task which has been laid upon us today, that will not fade going forward.
The delivery unit consists of 5 groups that will be chaired by Victor Ngomalo, Nathi Dlamini, Tuli Dladla and Begizwe Mazia. Each chairperson will be working with experts that have been strategically chosen from different government ministries and sectors of the economy to fast-track the delivery of the plan. The recovery plan consists of 97 projects that are ready to be implemented within 18 months beginning the 1st of July 2020. These projects will inject a total of 30 billion into the economy, creating 40,000 jobs for the recovery from the pandemic. Reporting, I'm Lungwilile Makakula with Fortune Dlangamandla, Ezulwini.
The Minister of Finance, Neil Reckenberg, has commended the role played by women in supporting the government in the development of the country's economy. The minister said this when addressing women of Sikwe constituency who were being trained by Far East Textile Garment in Matapa.
Following the establishment of Vukani Bomage organization by business women Eswatini few months ago with the aim of training rural women on textile industries, this project was then started where 4 constituencies, including Amansini South, Lobamba Lomtsala, Hlambeni and Sikwe women were first to be trained on textile garment industry, and the managing director for Far East Garment in Matapa headed by Toki Hao. Minister of Finance Neil Reckenberg says it is encouraging to see rural women engaging themselves in textile industry businesses because this means that the economy of the country will...
Initiative which aims at to bring the work out of the economy to the Tinkundla centres is one that enjoys His Majesty's government support. It's for that main reason that I am actually here today. Secondly, I've come to recognise as well as applaud the tireless efforts being made by the private sector to help government expand the economy and far outlying areas of this kingdom. You'll all be aware that His Majesty is always teaching and reminding us that as we develop the economy, we should not leave anybody behind, especially now when the country is in the throes of an unprecedented pandemic.
Businesswomen Eswatini Toki Hao says if all women in the country can do textile industry businesses, the level of unemployment in the country will decrease.
Njengaloku usibona nje nasihambela labo mage letinkundleni iphupho lethu nje thina la ka Far East sikule litiko la ka Text Hub sifisa nje ukuthi ngabe bonke labo make kuleto tinkundla leto bangatikhanza nakhona kunema factory kuphuma ema factory nawo la sakhona kutitfungela asathola ema order sitikhanza ukuthi Swaziland sengiye le textile hub nayo seyise onke emave lafuna ukuthungisa noma lafuna umsebenzi wokuthunga etala because ema factory kithi sagcwele sesiyakhona nje ukuthi si-exportele ngaphandle nokukhuluma umnotfo wabangwane.
Mbis Konza, who spoke on behalf of Vugani Bomage organization from Sigwe constituency, says the knowledge they received from the Far East government is well appreciated.
Timisele kakhulu ukuthi masisuka la masifika emuva sibomake basesigwe siqale sithunge siyathemba silolwathi lesilitholile la lutasisita ukuthi sikhone ukuthunga sitimele kakhulu sifunzile nje kakhulu sibomake basesigwe dinengi indlela lesitithole ukuthi uma nisebomake nifunza kufuna futhi ukuthi nibe yi-team sifunze nge-teamwork ukuthi awukhona ukusebenza wedwana kuthi umsebenzi lo ngawenda uwedwana ngeja udzinga ukuthi nibambisane lapha nalapha nihloniphane nifake umfutho nifake amandla.
Sikonza further appeal to all women in the country to engage themselves in businesses in order for the economy of the country to develop. Reporting, I am Zoto Adlamini with Mbonga Dube, Matsapa.
The Minister of Sports, Culture and Youth Affairs, Harris Bulunga, has launched the Eswatini National Youth Council Policy of 2020. Bulunga says the policy will ensure that the youth of the country participate in national affairs like development issues.
The Minister of Sports, Culture and Youth Affairs, Harris Bulunga, says it has taken the country over 10 years to review the national youth policy. The minister elaborates on how the youth of Eswatini will benefit from the policy.
We need to revisit our education system in terms of the syllabus that is provided. We want to strengthen technical and vocational education because we see it as a way forward, something that will help our young people to, after the 12 years of education, leave school, secondary school, with armed with skills that will help them to be able to start their small businesses, and then they be able to make a meaningful life.
The United Nations Population Fund Country Director, Margaret Twala, says there was a great need to review the policy.
The curriculum needs to focus on building skills because white-collar jobs are no longer a reality these days. So we are very happy that the ministry had to move very quickly to ensure that the policy is reviewed to align with the latest evidence.
Speaking on behalf of the youth was Sizolwethu Mapanga, who praised government for their policy.
And how the youth is being influenced by the elders. So now with this policy, I think it'll be a way of the elders trying to reach out to the young people and try and making them realize how they can actually make a difference into the economy, the politics and so many other things, processes that the country has to do.
Minister Bulunga says he will table the youth bill in parliament before it closes for the year. The national population census of 2017 suggests that the youth of the country is estimated to be at 790,000, while they make 70% of the national population. For Eswatini TV News, Fortune Dlangamandla with Patizwe Msibi, Zulwini.
We will now take a look at a press statement from the Ministry of Natural Resources. The Ministry of Natural Resources and Energy informs the public that following the gradual recovery in global oil markets, which resulted in persistent increase in international oil prices, the local fuel prices will increase by 80 cents per litre on all fuel products, petrol, diesel and illuminating paraffin. The new prices will come into effect Thursday midnight 3 September 2020, effective Friday 4 September 2020. The global demand for oil has increased due to the upsurge in economic activity globally, causing a rebalance in energy supply of global oil. In the month of August 2020, the daily Brent crude oil spot prices averaged $45 per barrel, which is $3 up from the month of July 2020. 2020. The daily average Lilangeni US dollar exchange rate depreciated to an average of 17.47 emalangeni in August 2020 compared to July, to a monthly average of 16 emalangeni and 81 cents in the month of July 2020. The increase in fuel prices will be as follows. The unleaded petrol ULP price will increase by 80 cents per litre from 11 emalangeni 65 cents per litre to 12 emalangeni 45 cents per litre. The diesel 50 ppm sulfur price will increase by 80 cents per litre from 12 emalangeni 10 cents per litre to 12 emalangeni 90 cents per litre, and the illuminating paraffin price will increase by 80 cents per litre from 7 emalangeni 15 cents per litre to 7 emalangeni and 95 cents per litre. The ministry encourages the public to use fuel efficiently as the international oil markets and the Lilangeni dollar exchange rate remain volatile. Public Accounts Committee Chairperson Pila Buthelezi says the Ministry of Foreign Affairs and Cooperation should bring back a sum of 18 million emalangeni from Kenya to the country. This money was obtained when government sold 4 out of 5 government houses in that country, which were used as an embassy.
When the Minister of Foreign Affairs and Cooperations appeared before the Public Account Committee, the chairperson Pila Buthelezi asked the acting principal secretary Jennifer Neves to explain about the houses which were sold in Kenya at 18 million emalangeni starting from the year 2016. He asked the ministry to transfer the money into government consolidated fund. Buthelezi also asked Neves to explain why the other house has not been sold.
Imali ayibuye. Nangabe uhulumende sokwanisekela nge-supplement itawukhona kuchubeka ibhajetheleke le kuthengela lele senior staff le-sector B. Please engagani labamele banicalculathele nkosi ukuthi as of now ama-cost abo athini bawadeducte ibuye lelenye kulo 18 million ibuye consolidated fund.
Explaining the issue of the untransferred 18 million emalangeni and the house which has not been sold was the Ministry of Foreign Affairs and Cooperations Acting Principal Secretary Jennifer Neves. She says government does not have a title deed for the house. That is why it has not been sold yet.
We are waiting for the Lands Office to issue the title deed, but we are much further in the process than we were at the beginning or before the committee went to visit the estate. There's a fixed cost for their operations. So the labor tax has 18 million, iyafana nalaba standing cost le tholakala le taba ithatha kulo maybe 7 million. Asisho angiyathi tabang malini.
Another issue that was deliberated by the Public Account Committee was that of the minister's employee, who is also employed by DBO Takangwane. Buthelezi asked the PS to explain why the officer was employed by both institutions. In response, Neves said the ministry was working around the clock to resolve the issue of the employee. For Eswatini TV News, Fortune Dlangamandla, while some visuals are sourced from Parliament.
We will now take a look at the COVID-19 update from the Ministry of Health. The Ministry of Health would like to inform the public of the status of COVID-19 in Eswatini. A total of 333 results were received today, out of which 50 tested positive. The total number of COVID-19 confirmed cases to date is 4,668. The status of COVID-19 confirmed cases in the country is as follows. Active cases currently stand at 939. Those that have recovered from COVID-19 are 3,585. Deaths in the country are 94, and those that are registered for care currently stand at 50. Looking at the cumulative confirmed cases by region, the Manzini region has recorded 2,112 confirmed cases of COVID-19. Hoa region has confirmed 1,832 cases. Shiselweni has 388 cases, and Lubombo has 336 cases of coronavirus.
These little heroes are going big on character. It's a summer for action. with kids' character tops just $36.99. Why pay more than last year's prices? Get character flip-flops for only $39.99 and reversible character duvet cover sets just $149.99. Life's better with Pep. Plus, catch your share of 100,000 Rand.
Let's take a look at our sports news. National team head coach Dominic Kunene says the suspension of Sabelo Nzinisa will be hard felt in the national team. Kunene was speaking after Nzinisa was suspended from playing football for 2 years in South Africa.
The national team head coach Dominic Kunene had put all his hopes to international players, who most of them are currently playing for Mbombela United in South African National First Division. News that Sabelo Nzinisa has been suspended for 2 years after being found to have been double registered in South Africa has come hard to football lovers and coach himself. The coach says it will be hard not to have Nzinisa.
Kuliqiniso vele live kudala affecta kakhulu sikhali ngilomnye webashayi lesibatiko even so nasekuvela tinto letinjengaleti nathi tawugcina dime kanje kusebaleni ukuthi live litawutsinzeka kakhulu because ngumdlali lo.
Kunene says it will greatly affect them as Nzinisa is one of the top players in the country, and something like this will surely have an impact. Kunene encouraged Nzinisa to keep going. He says Nzinisa is a strong player as he has overcome an injury and came back stronger, and he should be patient and everything will be in place once again.
Letiqhamuka emaceleni timuphazamise uNkulunkulu wamnika le talent so sitawufika isikhathi aphindze abuyela asebenze.
Kunene concluded by adding that the relegation of Mbombela will surely affect the national team, but the players should not give up. Reporting for Eswatini TV Sports News, I am Patizo Msibi with Fortune Tlangamandla, Nogwane Matapa.
Eswatini, we've come to the end of our news bulletin, but before we wrap up, let's take a quick recap of the headlines. Members of Parliament in the House of Assembly will start holding their sittings virtually. The Prime Minister Ambrose Lamini says the approach of full community involvement, which the country took in the fight against HIV and AIDS, should be taken in the fight against COVID-19. The Minister of Health, Liz Ngosi, has received equipment worth over 6 million emalangeni. Eswatini, that is all the news we had for you tonight. Up next is the weather forecast. Good night and God bless.